We've been contacted by thousands of people.
23-year-old Amy was on a Caribbean cruise with her brother and their parents in 1998, but she vanished without a trace as the boat was about to dock in the Caribbean island of Curacao.
Did she inadvertently fall off? Did she commit suicide? Did something nefarious occur where she smuggled off the ship?
On a warm March night in 1998, somewhere in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, a floating city carried nearly 3,000 passengers into what should have been an ordinary voyage. Among them was Amy Lynn Bradley, traveling with her parents and younger brother aboard the Royal Caribbean cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas, sailing from San Juan toward Curacao. Endless decks, bright lights, music echoing across the water. Endless decks, bright lights, music echoing across the water, and hundreds of crew members moving through the night. And yet, within this sealed environment, surrounded by nothing but open ocean, something went horribly wrong. By morning, Amy was gone. No alarms were raised, no struggle was reported. No clear witness ever came forward claiming to see the exact moment she disappeared. In a place designed to be constantly observed, a young woman had simply vanished into thin air. What makes the case even more unsettling is what didn't happen next. No immediate answers, no clear timeline, and no explanation that fully holds together. The deeper investigators looked, the more the story seemed to fracture into contradictions, leaving behind only one certainty: Amy Bradley walked into the night and never returned. She was about to start a new job the Monday after the cruise ended. Everything about her life suggested momentum, independence, confidence, a future that was just beginning to take shape. She was known for her personality: outgoing, social, athletic, the kind of person who could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with new friends. On the night of March 23rd, the ship felt exactly like you'd expect. Music playing across the decks, crowds moving between bars and lounges, laughter echoing through corridors. Amy and her brother Brad spent part of the evening at a Mardi Gras-themed party on the red, 9th floor deck. A live band was playing Blue Orchid. People were dancing, drinks were flowing. A videographer was even filming promotional footage for the cruise line. In those recordings, Amy looks completely normal, relaxed, smiling, comfortable. There is no sign, not even a subtle one, that anything is about to go wrong. Around 3:35, Brad returned to the family cabin. The ship's computerized door lock system recorded the exact time. Amy followed 5 minutes later. At 3:40 a.m., they stepped out onto the balcony. The ship was quiet now. The energy of the night had faded. All that remained was the sound of the ocean and the steady movement of the ship through the dark water. They sat there for a while, talking casually, nothing serious, nothing memorable. Just a normal conversation between siblings at the end of a long night. Eventually, Brad went inside to sleep. Amy stayed outside, alone. Amy's father, Ron, woke up. He walked toward the balcony and looked outside. Amy was still there. She appeared to be asleep in a chair. He could see her legs from the hips down. Everything looked completely normal. So he went back to bed. About 30 minutes later, he woke up again. This time, something was different. The balcony was empty. Amy was gone. No noise had woken him. No disturbance. No sign of a struggle. The only things missing from the cabin were her cigarettes and her lighter. She hadn't taken her shoes. No ID. No bag. No money. Whatever she intended when she left that balcony, she planned to come back. At first, the situation didn't feel urgent. Maybe she had gone for a walk. Maybe she wanted to watch the sunrise. Maybe she had gone to get cigarettes before the ship docked. But as time passed, that explanation became harder to hold on to. Minutes turned into an hour, then longer. Amy never came back. Her family began searching the ship themselves, walking through decks, checking common areas, asking other passengers if they had seen her. No one had. When they alerted the crew, the response wasn't what the family expected. Ron Bradley begged them not to let anyone leave the ship. "Don't let anybody off this boat. Someone has got my daughter." The crew refused. The ship was approaching Curacao. Passengers were already preparing to disembark. and the crew told the family it was too early to make a ship-wide announcement. By the time an official announcement was finally made at 7:05 a.m., the majority of the 2,000 passengers had already left the ship. In a case where every minute mattered, that delay changed everything. As investigators began piecing together Amy's last known movements, one name kept coming up: Alistair Douglas, known on the ship as Yellow, a bassist for the onboard band, Blue Orchid. He got the nickname from his dyed hair. That night, Amy and Yellow had been seen dancing together. It was captured on the promotional video footage, the two of them, together, in the club. Yellow later told investigators he left the party around 1 a.m. and went to the staff elevator. He claimed Amy headed in the opposite direction. That was his story. But witnesses told a different one. Two female passengers said they saw Amy board an elevator toward the ship's disco with Yellow around the time she disappeared. They said Yellow left the disco alone a few minutes later. Amy was not with him, and Amy was not seen again. Another witness claimed Yellow had offered Amy a dark drink, possibly coffee, in those early morning hours. There was something else. Shortly after Amy disappeared, Yellow approached her brother Brad by the pool. He said, "Hey man, I'm sorry to hear about your sister." At that point, no announcement had been made. Only the captain and the Bradley family knew she was missing. Brad found the timing deeply suspicious. His father, Ron, said it made him feel physically sick. The FBI interviewed Yellow. He voluntarily took a polygraph test. The results were reported as inconclusive by some sources, and as passed by Royal Caribbean spokesperson, he was never charged. He continues to deny any involvement. But the question never went away. How did he know to say sorry before anyone else knew there was something to be sorry about? Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough in this case. The night before Amy disappeared, her mother Iva went to look at the cruise photos, professional photos taken by the ship's photographer throughout the voyage. The kind of photos every cruise line sells: posed shots, candid moments, memories to take home. The photographer confirmed he had printed photos of Amy. He remembered doing it. But when Iva looked for them, they were gone. Every other passenger's photos were there. Only Amy's were missing. No one ever explained what happened to them. The photographer had no idea where they went, and they have never resurfaced. To Amy's family, this was not a coincidence. If someone had taken those photos before Amy disappeared, it suggested planning. It suggested someone knew what was going to happen. And it suggested they wanted to control what was left behind. Once the ship reached Curaçao, the situation became exponentially harder to manage. Thousands of passengers moved freely between the ship and the island. Tracking movements became nearly impossible. The Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard launched a 4-day search of the surrounding waters. 3 helicopters, a radar plane. Royal Caribbean chartered a boat to help. They found nothing. No body, no evidence, no trace. And then, the sightings began. 1 month after Amy disappeared, her father Ron and brother Brad traveled to Curaçao. They handed out flyers. They knocked on doors. They spoke to locals. A cab driver approached them. He said a young woman had run up to his cab the morning the ship docked, frantic, asking where she could find a phone. He remembered her green eyes, the same green eyes from the reward poster. He gave them 3 locations where he believed she had been seen. They searched every one. They found nothing. In August 1998, 2 Canadian tourists were walking on a beach near Curaçao. They saw a woman. She had tattoos. A baby Tasmanian devil on her shoulder, a gecko around her navel. Amy's tattoos. Exact locations. The woman couldn't be found. Then came the account that has haunted this case ever since. A former U.S. naval officer came forward. He said a woman had approached him at a brothel in the Caribbean. She said her name was Amy. She asked for help. By the time the FBI arrived at that location, the building had burned to the ground. In 2005, a photo surfaced on an adult website in the Caribbean. A woman who looked exactly like Amy, same facial features, same body type. She looked distraught, disheveled. The image was discovered by an organization that searches for trafficking victims online. The FBI investigated. The woman in the photo was identified as a sex worker using the name Joss, but her real identity was never confirmed. These reports introduced a theory that Amy's family had believed from the beginning, that she had not fallen into the ocean. She had been taken. The Caribbean is a region where people move constantly between countries, islands connected by water instead of borders, a transit zone for everything that moves invisibly. Drugs, money, people. Ivor Bradley said it clearly in one interview. "We know there's a tremendous amount of drug trade from Venezuela through those islands, up through the United States. That's not a secret. If someone wanted to move a person without being noticed, a cruise ship arriving in Curaçao with thousands of passengers disembarking at once was the perfect cover. No proof was ever confirmed, but there was also no explanation that ruled it out." In 2010, Amy Bradley was legally declared dead. Her family rejected it completely. Ron and Ivor have spent nearly 3 decades appearing on television, maintaining websites, offering rewards, refusing to let the world forget their daughter's name. They were also deceived along the way. In 1999, a man named Frank Jones contacted the family. He claimed to be a former U.S. Navy SEAL. He said he had a team who could bring Amy home from Curaçao. He sent fake photos, fake reports, fake hope. He took $24,000 from the family's personal savings and $186,000 from a missing persons charity fund set up in Amy's name. In 2002, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for mail fraud. The family had lost their daughter, then they lost their money, and they kept going anyway. In July 2025, podcast host Ethan Klein announced a $1 million reward for any information that could lead to Amy Bradley being safely returned home. Nearly 27 years after she vanished, the FBI case is still open, and no arrests have ever been made. A ship full of passengers, cameras, crew, open ocean, and yet Amy was gone. Photos removed before her disappearance. Strange sightings, conflicting leads. A band member who reportedly knew too much too soon. Even a delayed search that gave thousands of passengers time to leave unnoticed. There were tips, false leads, a burned building, a known scammer, but no answers that ever fully closed the case. So what really happened that night aboard the Rhapsody of the Seas? Did Amy fall into the sea, or leave that ship with someone who made sure she would never be found? The truth is still missing, and somewhere, someone knows more than they've said.